Good morning, Hero Moms, Hero Dads, Hero Friends. It is, Kelly, what day is it?
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, you guys, second day of the work week. Hopefully you guys had an awesome Monday. If you hung out with us and started your day positive, I'm sure it got started positive and awesome. Let's do that again today. Make a positive day. Let's win our morning together. We're going to start off with deep breaths. 3 in and out. Breathe in good, breathe out bad.
The dog's barking.
Come on, Chrissy, join us. Breathe in deep. Alrighty. Feeling calm, feeling good. Let's get right into our gratitudes. Kelly, what are you grateful for today?
Today I am, I was a little unprepared.
What?
She doesn't like to go first.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, I am grateful for my internal music. I was just sitting here while we were getting ready and I had a song going through my head and it just sort of makes me dance and I just like that feeling and it makes me happy. It makes me happy when I've got a song going in my head. And I know if I have a song going in my head that I'm happy. So it's yeah, I got a little Motown going on. I got sunshine on a cloudy
day. Is it cloudy today?
No.
Doesn't matter. That's a happy song. That's not a
She's
cloudy
got sunshine on a sunny day.
Yeah, it's hazy here because we still have a little fog going on, but
oh, you're on the coast.
But in my head, so.
Michelle, how about you? What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for gratitude. I was thinking about this over the weekend because we had talked on Thursday about like correcting our self-speak and it's been just for me such a huge tool because whenever I get my head starts going in the wrong way, that's like my cue to bring up gratitude. And it has made such a difference in my life, even in the mornings, like before I wake up or, even when my eyes are still closed, I'm thinking of things that I'm grateful for. And that's just one way that, I can keep all that negative sick kid stuff at bay and keep moving. So I am grateful for gratitude. Boom.
That's awesome. It's a good way to look at it. It's a tool to turn your day around, you guys. Sometimes it feels hard to get in that mindset of gratitude. For some people, it's super easy. For some people, it's really hard. Like I struggle sometimes trying to come up with something that I'm grateful for, which is crazy because I am surrounded by things to be grateful for.
Right.
But yet we take things for granted. And sometimes we just need to, really appreciate every single little thing. So right now, what I love and what I'm so grateful for is my toothbrush. I love having a clean mouth. Sorry. I love being able to clean gunk, like morning gunk off of my teeth and just like, feel my teeth and they're all shiny and fresh. And I was trying to imagine like what it was like before toothbrushes were invented.
No.
And, like, why did they, like, I remember reading in school about George Washington, how he had like, wooden teeth and stuff in there when his teeth fell out. And every time he drank wine, it stained. Like, how often would he have to have a new wood tooth cut for him so he wouldn't have like the color of red wine tooth in his mouth? Like, how crazy is that? It seems so archaic. So I'm just so grateful that, imagine it was third world back then. And he was the president of the United States of what it was at that time. And he was wealthy and all that kind of stuff. So imagine a person who has no money and no toothbrush. Like, what are they going to do? They're just going to be like toothless, essentially. So then it's like, how do they chew their food? And, all those other kinds of things you have to start thinking about. And I don't know if they had forks and knives then. So how do you chew food if you don't have forks and knives and toothbrush? Like, I don't know. It would be really tough. Simple little things would be really tough without the toothbrush. So if you haven't thought
What about the deodorant? I want to know, what about the deodorant?
right?
I watch all kinds of I love period shows. And Armando's always like, well, how do you think those people smell?
I think that all the time.
Really? That's so funny. But it was different. I mean, and I think people were used to it because there was a lot more death. I mean, people were exposed to the real meat of life a lot more than we are. We don't have to smell dead people or, people that have no access to toothbrushes or deodorant. So I think there was a different, different sense of what was pretty and not pretty.
Yeah, I can say that it doesn't mean they liked it, right?
Right.
Otherwise, somebody wouldn't have come up with things like deodorant and toothbrushes.
Right.
So that stuff was invented because they didn't like that stuff.
I think they probably chewed a lot of mint.
That's why
Exactly.
To bring us back to the period days. We have kids and they remind us smelly things.
Oh God, yes.
True. Diapers, that's another one. Man, life without diapers. I remember when I was God, I must have been like 17 or 18, maybe 19. And I went on a missions trip with a bunch of kids my age into Mexico, really, really deep into Mexico from the El Paso border. It was about a 12-hour drive from the El Paso border straight back into Mexico. And thankfully, Juarez wasn't what it is now at that time, because we might not have ever come back. But it's a place called Chihuahua. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Michelle.
Yep.
And there are these Mexican Indians who live there, tribal people called the HEROMOMS. And I've since heard of them here and there since then. That was a long time ago. I'm 48 years old now. So that was like, I know you do the math because I'm
28 years ago.
That was a long time ago. Anyway, they what they were doing was living on little farms, and they even wore like I guess it wasn't like crazy. It kind of reminded me more of like folk type clothing versus like tribal. It wasn't tribal like not like that. But it reminded me actually of like of the Eastern European folk wear, like skirts and really, really colorful skirts and tops, but big puffy kind of like square dancing skirts, like really puffy like that. And it was totally third world. They had like one mud hut that the whole family lived in. It had like a stove in the middle of it and like maybe like a bunk or two. And they would have like, 5 or so kids and a little bit of farm. And so they would walk around. They didn't have bathrooms. So the women just like, they would just squat and they would go wherever. They had their skirt on. So they didn't have to like, we didn't see anything other than like a little pile after they left. That kind of thing. Wow. I mean, I'm sure they had like rules and stuff of within their community, just like social etiquette of when and where and that kind of stuff was acceptable. But it just really made me think at even 18 years old, looking at living in the same time that I was alive, that stuff was going on. And that was a trip for me because I've grown up all my life with a toilet, right? In a regular house, like everybody has their own room. And plus we have a room for a kitchen, a room for the TV and a room, patio and an outdoor space. Like outdoor space wasn't used to grow things. It was used for recreation. Front yard was to play, backyard was for swimming, and all of their land was there to grow the food that they had to survive on. It was a really, really a trip. So we brought toothbrushes, by the way, tying it all back together. We brought toothbrushes for them because they didn't have those. We also brought razors because we just knew that those women probably wanted to shave their legs. Not. It was such a dumb thing to bring them. But anyway, it's just really interesting what we can take for granted sometimes. So it's important that we do these gratitudes, right, guys?
Yeah, super important.
Okay, so the question of the day, you guys, such a good question. What did you learn from your biggest regret?
I don't know what my biggest regret is.
All right, just dig deep, girl. Hey, Dave,
Pass.
Tina. I'll say while you guys are thinking, I'm gonna say hi to all the Romper Room friends. Trina, Aaron. Hey guys, thanks for joining us this morning. What are you grateful for? We'd love to hear what
All
you're
right,
grateful
I got it.
All right, Michelle's got her answer to her question. Kelly, time is ticking. You're next.
All right, so what did I learn from my biggest regret is always get a second opinion. That's it.
We need the story on that one.
Okay, so my biggest regret is agreeing to a gallbladder surgery that went really, 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 really wrong. And the surgeon made a mistake. And after, not only did he make a mistake, but after I was sent home and then had to go back to the emergency room, that surgeon was in the ER as an attending physician and never registered me as a patient. I just spent the night in the ER. And in the morning, he literally gave me a sandwich from a vending machine to see how my body would react to food, not from the cafeteria. None of this was in my chart. And when I didn't get immediately sick, he literally sent me home. And I started having my attack of pancreatitis in the car on the way home from the emergency. We had to turn back around. And I will never forget that surgeon, he was trying to cover his tracks. He was trying to cover himself and hoping he was going to get away with it. So I wish I had gotten a second opinion. I had a weird vibe about him from the initial consultation. And I think if I had gotten a second opinion, that never would have happened.
Yeah.
So.
And the result today how long ago was that?
8 years ago.
8 years ago. And today, how is that affecting your life?
Well, I mean, I'm still sick. I still struggle with the repercussions of what happened in that surgery. So, and it just keeps kind of snowballing. So, yeah.
So, you guys, it's miserable watching. I can't even imagine being Michelle, but watching her struggle and just trying to navigate that sort of thorn in her side now that she has to always think about. Sucks, man. Yeah, I think that's a huge one, Michelle. Of course, if you flip to the positive.
Yeah, the positive. Well, that's why I at first I was thinking, what's my biggest regret, and then I couldn't really come up with it. But on the positive side, I mean, it's allowing me to do everything that I'm doing now. It changed my life to the negative in so many ways, but it changed my life to the positive in even more profound ways. So I look at that one person and I have a little bit of animosity towards him, but I forgave that guy a long time ago. Like I don't carry that with me. But and I try not to think about the one thing, because if you try, I mean, you can take it back in history to that one day, but it's really beyond that. And I have to think about the surgeon, Dr. Costanza, who literally saved my life. I mean, I'm so grateful for him, and he's still my doctor. And it's like, there's so many good things that happened that if I focused on that one thing, I would be probably a lump on the floor. You know, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So not that I don't have days that I want to do something bad to that guy. But for the most part, 99.9% of the time, I'm good. At least, my energy wise, I try not to carry that as baggage.
Yeah. Super important. Another skill that she's developed because of that situation is letting go and not letting things take her down. Yeah. Charlotte says one of the things that she's learned is to listen to her gut and her intuition. Yes. Charlotte, my girl Charlotte, our beautiful friend Charlotte, she's been on one of our podcasts. She's an amazing woman, leader, teacher, coach, like so many things, entrepreneur, single mom, kick-ass lady. And she just, she has very, very good, she has like you, Kelly, like that dog nose gut, where her gut just has 100 times more the sensitivity than the regular person. And she can just go right to the soul and just pull you out. She's got such an awesome skill like that. So cool. I'm glad you listened to your gut and intuition too, Charlotte. Saved my booty a couple of times. Kelly, how about you? What did you learn from your biggest regret?
I like Charlotte's answer.
Right?
Good, right?
You can have the same answer.
Well, I guess in a roundabout way it might be, but
Michelle, like, no, that's cheating.
I said she can. I said she can.
Oh.
See?
You said I can't?
No, I said you can. See? Now you got Kelly mad at me. See?
Probably from every regret, I realize or learn who I don't want to be or what I don't want to do. But if you want to bring it down to a singular thing, it's probably not giving up on, like, nothing is so important that I can't be there when it's so necessary for, like, my family or somebody helping me. And I think back to, I wish I would have spent more time with my dad when he was sick, because he wasn't sick for very long before he passed away. But, you know, when you're in your 30s or whatever, you think, oh, you know, they're just not going to leave. They're just, you know, it's not going to happen fast. You're going to have time, or, you know, I don't have enough money right now, or, you know, that type of thing. So, I mean, I was there when I needed to be, but I wish I would have spent more time. And when my sister got sick, I was about 5 years ago. I mean, she was really sick, and we weren't sure she was going to live. And I remember talking to my mom. I said, "Is it time for me to come? And do I need to come there?" And she said, "No, not right now. You know, protecting my money, my, you know, time and everything else." And I just remember saying to my husband, Dan, I need to go. I don't care what my mom says. She needs me there, and my sister needs me there. So I just booked the ticket and went. And she was so happy that I did. And I never would have forgave myself if I didn't. Well, I guess it's sort of a gut thing. If I didn't listen to what I was feeling, and my sister did die. I mean, it was really, she was in the hospital for over a month, and it was just a really scary time for everybody.
Wow.
Didn't she had pancreatitis too, didn't she?
Yes, ended up that. Yeah.
See?
And it was all a result of gallstones, like just
my gosh,
full of gallstones that block the duct to the pancreas, or to the, just blocked a duct. I can't remember. So all
it's a bile duct.
Yeah. So it was leaking into the pancreas and eating it.
Right.
So she has like 10% of her pancreas left.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really, pancreatitis, especially acute pancreatitis, is deadly. Like, I look back on it and I remember my doctor, Dr. Costanza, he put me in critical care, not the ICU, because statistically the people that come out of the ICU with live through pancreatitis is very slim. So he didn't want me to have that mindset that I'm in the ICU.
Right.
I ended up spending time later in the ICU, but at first he put me in the critical care unit just so that I didn't have it in my mind that I was that sick. But I was that sick, and just like Kelly's sister, I mean, it's really scary. That thing, it can take you down in a day, literally in a day.
Yeah.
So, and once you have it, it can come, you can still go down from it, you know. I'm sure your sister has to really watch what she eats, and, you know.
Yeah, she has the potential to be diabetic, if she's careful, and she has a ton of pills she has to take before she eats, because she has not much to help her, you know, digest her food. So it's so really just getting back to, like, there's nothing really more important than being able to be there when you feel like you need to be there. And, you know, it's my father-in-law's birthday.
Yay, happy birthday.
But like my husband has both his parents. I mean, they're both in their 80s, and he, you know, it's like sometimes, you know, they live up in LA, and sometimes they're like, oh, well, you know, driving in the traffic, it's like, you're not going to miss this. It's 2.5 hours away. On a bad day, it might be 3 hours. we're going to go, we're going to do this, because you don't ever want to say, I wish I would have gone. I wish I would have been there. And, you know, not having lost a parent, I'm just making sure that he gets all the time he can when he can with them. So,
Right.
you know, it's just making sure that those connections happen.
Mhm.
You know, because I did have good time with my dad, but I wish I had more. Of course, I wish he was here now, but unfortunately, he's not. He is, you know, in some ways, but definitely having that, just knowing how I want to be in those situations is probably what it taught me.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. That's a good learning. See, Trina says her biggest regret or takeaway is fear gets you nowhere. Ooh, that's a good one. Trina, that's a solid one. We can waste so much time just being in that place of fear and not taking action towards things. And 99% of the time, well, no, 100% of the time, they're figure outable in some way. You know, it may not turn out originally how you thought it was going to be, but it's going to turn out somehow. Right. And obviously that's what you've learned. So that's a really solid one. Tina says her dad has pancreatitis too. I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that either.
Wow. Hey, Ken. Ken is on. Heather is on. Hi, you guys. Good morning.
Oh, my Aunt Rhonda's on.
Aunt Rhonda.
Yay.
Let's see. What did I learn from my biggest regret? I have such a different way of thinking of those kinds of things now. I don't really think in terms of regrets anymore. So that's tough. I feel a little bit like I got to go backwards in terms of, like, you know, how I've grown my mindset to be able to think of something as a regret. But I would say a regret would be if I thought that something that, like, to have a victim mentality, to have a mentality like I didn't have control of something that happened. And it's true, like, there are things that happen that you don't have control of, but there's always an option for you to get control in some way, how you react, how you respond, how you move forward. But to sit and think that something happened to me and I'm powerless and paralyzed, and I did waste a lot of years with that kind of mentality. So it would be very regretful to think in those terms. And every once in a while, my old thinking comes in when something triggers a spot that I haven't really dug into to deal with and grow through. And I catch myself sooner than I used to before. But you know, what I know is that there are no regrets. There are just opportunities to create advantages instead of disadvantages. Like we've talked about that before. Every time something difficult happens, what I've learned is I just have to, like, stop and sort of observe, you know, what's going on, and just feel it, you know, feel all the things that I'm feeling because of it, and just start, like, assessing, okay, is this real, or is this a story that I'm making up in my head to try to cope with that negative emotion, instead of, you know, trying to mask the negative emotion, instead of feeling my way through it, so that I can then allow my mind to sort of creatively think of a way to work through it, to grow through it. And so for me, my biggest regrets, I guess you could say, is that I spent a lot of time not empowering myself or believing in myself that I could figure things out, and I was just waiting for somebody else to come figure it out for me. What about you guys? Have you guys had those kinds of situations? How about you, Corey? How about Tina said, regret is falling into my old habits. Yep. And then Trina says, I was just talking about last night with my friend. Yep. Those are topics that come up from time to time, especially when you have really empowered friends. So that's cool that you guys thought about that.
Right.
Hey, Corey, thanks for hopping on. If you guys have anything else that you want to share, we'd love to hear what you learned from your biggest regret. Hey, Jody. Jody's on. Good morning, Jody.
Hi, Jody.
We're talking about what did you learn from your biggest regrets. Of course, we're also sharing gratitudes. So if you have one of those, we'd love to hear about that. Kelly, what was your most like sort of detrimental victim mentality situation?
That I was stupid, that I was dumb, that I was ugly, that I'll never go anywhere because, I mean, this is all like happening all at once. It's always brings me back to this one run I had, because I would always go run, like when I felt like that, I would just go run. And I was running so hard, so fast, and I was so mean. I just remember like being so mean in my head, and thinking that was going to make it better, and all it did was reinforce what I was feeling. It's like, okay, well, I didn't run fast enough. I didn't, I wasn't thin enough to be able to do that or whatever. I mean, it was just that was always my victim mentality is, it was just an excuse for the bad feelings that I felt, the stuck place that I was in. Me being a victim, caged, going, well, this is just the way it's going to be. And so I just better deal with it. And so I kind of laugh when I think about it because I'm so not that person now. But it's really sad too. It's like, God, I wasted a lot of time, a lot of energy, feeling that way. But it's so many years, that just beating myself up, and it took many years to change that around as well. I'm so glad I'm in the space I am in now. It's not, I don't need the workout to change, I mean, sometimes I do, it just depends, but it's not the same thing. It's like, I just need this to get away, or it's more this, it's self-care, not self-beating. It's self-care, which is a nice thing to have, something that I can go to care about me, not hate me.
It's not a punishment anymore. Now it's loving on yourself. That's huge. Absolutely huge. Michelle, how about you, babe?
I don't know. I didn't really think about how I spoke to myself until I started doing personal development. And I remember, I forget what I was watching, but something about that, like your self-speak. And I'm like, well, I don't even do that. Like was not even conscious of doing it. And I still remember to this day, the first thing I ever heard, like my negative self say. And I was trying on a dress and it didn't fit. And this little ugly Michelle voice in my head said, "You're so effing disgusting." And I was like, oh my God, and I started noticing what I was saying to myself, and I just kind of broke down. Like, I couldn't believe it. First of all, I would never say that to another person. And it was really horrifying, but at the same time, it was something that I needed to hear because I didn't even know I was doing it, and it was something that I had to turn off or to address. It still sometimes comes up, but I have a tool to combat that. And I just think without doing personal development or without trying to figure other things out in my life, I would still be that person stuck and being a victim, like just a victim of circumstance or a victim of some doctor or a victim of my genes or whatever. You can make yourself a victim about almost anything in life. But it was that day that I stood up and said, no, we're not going to have that. Yeah, no. So I think that's really important. And it was surprising to me because I honestly was not conscious of the fact that I was doing that. So the first time I heard it, it was almost like someone else was in the room. It was really, really profound. I mean, I remember I just really broke down and cried. I couldn't believe it. So
I think that's actually good that it actually sounded like something outside of yourself that you heard, because for me, and maybe for Kelly too, I don't know, Kelly, you'll have to say, I was completely unaware of that negative self-speak, in the sense that it was just normal to me. So it didn't seem out of the norm. It was just always the way that I thought towards myself. So it was really hard to turn that around. Tina said that Michelle, she did that too and broke down also. She would hide from her husband and kids.
Oh.
See how paralyzing that is, you guys. It's so insane. Hi, Anne. Thanks for hopping on. Mwah. I haven't talked to you in a while. Hope you're doing well. We should connect again. And you guys, you know, one of the things that Michelle said I think is so key here is it was something outside of herself that sort of made her realize that our mentor, Brendan Burchard, tells us that either something new happens outside of us to us that sort of wakes us up in that way, or something from within kind of comes out, something that was hidden inside of us, a strength, an awareness, a consciousness comes out and reveals to us something new. So for Michelle, she talked about personal development. Huge. I remember hearing that word the first time, it was probably like 8 or 9 years ago. And I did not know that word. I never heard that word before in my life. As an adult, I was like 40 years old and I never heard of personal development. I heard of self-improvement, but I never heard of personal development. And the word development to me always either went with housing or like mental disorders, like people who are mentally handicapped. So since it was personal development, it obviously was not housing. So I associated with something like with someone who was not quite, didn't have it all going on up there. So I was like, when somebody invited me to a personal development event, I'm like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say about me? Something wrong with me? I was a little insulted. This come from a very naive woman, like head in the hole in the ground, like almost my whole life. So anyway, that was a huge change for Michelle, huge game changer for Kelly, and I know, and also for me, changed everything. Suddenly life just opened up and you realize like, oh my God, like for me, literally like somebody pulled my head out of the hole in the ground and said, hello, it doesn't have to be a dark, dirty pit. It can look like this. I was like, what? This was here all the time. It was crazy for me. So that was major thing. What's your favorite personal development tool or learning or guru or whatever?
Oh, well, I love Brendan.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then my favorite, I think I gave it to somebody. And my favorite book that he did is The Motivation Manifesto.
Oh my God, such a good book.
I know.
I
mean,
that.
To me, that book reads like poetry. I think I loaned it to somebody, but that just the one I always go back to, especially if there you go. So if I'm having even like just kind of a yucky day, you know, sometimes I'll just go read because it's just like sentence after sentence of just profound, you know, advice. So it's really beautifully written. And you guys, he gives this book away. I mean, you can find links for this book where I think what you only have to pay the shipping, but he gives this book away. I mean, he gives it as a gift, and it's really, really beautiful, really well written.
Yeah, it's a pretty book too. It's bound really pretty.
Yeah.
Old school feeling. Hey, MJ, thanks for hopping on, girl. We're talking about what you learned from your biggest regrets. And for us, that led into talking about personal development and what our first favorite personal development stuff is. Jody says, I felt the same. Growing up, I was not treated right as a child. And so I created this safe place for making myself appear ugly so that I wouldn't be hurt anymore. Then years later, I was in a conference and the speaker said, if you don't face your past hurts, they will come back to bite you. And I didn't realize that so many years later, I was still sabotaging myself and my environment. I had to tell myself I was worthy. I have worth to be happy and healthy and love. And though I still battle some of these things, I have overcome so much since then. It takes years. You're right, Jody. Good job, man. Good job having that awareness of what was going on and taking responsibility when you came to that place of knowing, when somebody enlightened you and gave you words of wisdom and you just held on to that and you took responsibility and started making change. That is not easy to do. Right. So many people I remember watching on that documentary Heal that Kelly was telling me about. It's on Netflix right now. You guys absolutely should watch that show. But one of the girls in there said, and Kelly, maybe you quoted her on this too. She said there was almost a fear of getting healthy because she doesn't know herself not being sick. So it's kind of like that dysfunctional part of us where we have those, you know, those small thinking mindset pieces, our coping mechanisms that we created to keep us safe at the time. Like Jody was just saying, that time she created a coping mechanism that sort of protected her, wound her, so that she could deal with all the negative emotion going on around her. But you know, those things, we don't want to be stuck there. Yet we're so used to and familiar with that way of thinking, that way of approaching things, and that way of reacting to things, that it's scary to go outside of that and take the risk to learn a new way, to feel the pain potentially of something new and grow through that. And most people find that when they do that, it's so much better because it's so much better on the other side, because you can't get to the other side without a workout, a mindset workout. And that means you're stronger and you can handle what's on the other side. So I'm so proud of you, Jody, for doing that. That's just so, so huge. Kelly, what about you? What's your favorite PD?
Well, duh, Brendan. But I really loved his Life's Golden Ticket. I didn't read that for the longest time, but it reads more like a story, and I love it because it's more like a coaching journey. You know, it's just like, it was just really cool when I got to the end. I was like, oh my God, it was just really like an awesome book. But probably my most favorite of his, and it's is The Charge. And I have it right here. I love this book. I have it on my desk all the time. Sometimes I just up and I'll read certain things. I might just read pages. I'll be talking to someone. I remember one time, Paula, I was talking, you were saying something. I can't remember what it was about, but I went right to The Charge. I'm like, oh yeah. And then I typed it out to you, or took a picture, you know, and you're like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. You know? Yes. Yeah. And it was like, because there's so many good nuggets in here, and going back to what, I think Michelle was saying, or both of you were saying, is that you didn't really realize you were talking, you know, negative to yourself. I was very purposeful about it. I knew that because that's my punishment, you know, so it was like, I was talking to myself purposefully in that way because I was beating myself down. And it took a long time to like get out of that. And I did to some extent. But it wasn't until I went to my first high performance academy that I really realized that I was worth something, that unlocked that I didn't need to do that to myself, that I was still in some respects doing that to myself. And I didn't recognize it. And he talks about it in this book too, but talked about it, he being Brendan, talked about it at High Performance Academy about being the cage life and the charge life. And when he put it in those terms, I was like, oh my God, I might not have been in the back corner of the cage. And it was like, oh, I don't want to, you know, when someone puts it in front of you like that, you're like, I don't want to be like that. And so it was really, really eye-opening for me. It was very, it really touched me in my soul. Those 4 days just really changed my outlook on myself and how I want to be in it. It wasn't like I changed in a day, but I worked really hard, and I walked out of there with a goal. I didn't really say it to anybody, but I remember saying it to my husband that I was going to be a high performance coach. And this was, I was still like, Kelly, you know, like not as bad, but you know, it was like, oh yeah, right. Like I probably would have said it to, oh yeah, right. Like you're going to be a high performance coach before that weekend. And it took me a little while to get there, but I'm a coach now, and I go to the high performance academies, and I love it. It feeds my soul. And it just makes me a better person every time I go because I do that much more work. And
Well, and you're an awesome coach. You are an exceptional coach.
thank you.
I agree.
Yeah.
I have good mentors.
Kelly coaches Michelle and I.
Yeah.
She's both of our coaches.
And yes, she's amazing. So
I work hard. Good mentors, Paula and Brendan. And like I said, I just have this around all the time because and it even says here, activating the 10 human drives that make you feel alive. These are
so
things
true.
awesome.
Every day, it's like they should be taught, how you're connecting with people, how you're contributing. Are you in congruence with the person that you are or want to be? It's an amazing book. So that is absolutely my favorite.
That has been a game changer for Kelly, and she's been a fan and follower of high performance for a long time. But when Kelly got into coaching on this one, that changed everything for her. Just like going deep. You guys, if there's an opportunity, if you guys really want to fast track your growth, Kelly and I coach in Brendan's materials. So all of his books relate to basically leading you to have what he calls the charge life. And that is basically 100% living in that space of complete, authentic, true self, where you have zero fear. Okay, so you might feel fears, but for the most part, they don't paralyze you anymore, unless something old that you haven't dealt with has been triggered. But for the most part, you're living in that space of your complete and total truth, fearlessly, and people are feeling safe around you because you stand strong in that place, and you are pursuing only things that you love and are passionate about, and things that align with you. So sometimes things are still hard, but they're clear. You're clear on what you need to do. So even if it's hard, you don't feel scared because you know that it aligns with who you want to be, with your integrity. And so you can walk through that, whatever, just like having a baby, for example, right? For those of you who are moms who've had kids, and you just know that birth part of it, the labor and all that stuff is so hard, so painful physically. It's long, it's hours after hours after hours being in physical pain. But then you have a baby on the other side of it. And so the whole time you're in it, you're like, man, this is really hard. But you're just like, I'm doing it. Like, I mean, not like you can get out of it, but there's something in knowing that there's this precious thing that comes on the other side of it that's going to improve your life for the rest of your life, that makes you want to just be as strong as you can and fight through it to get to that other side. And then on the other side, when you have this baby, you're just like, now I want to be the best mom I could ever be. It just, that growth makes you just want to be even better than you were before. And being in that space of authenticity totally is that. Okay, so obviously I'm a huge fan of Brendan Burchard. I'm a freak fan of Brendan Burchard. Not freak in, actually I should say it more specifically. I'm a freak fan of high performance. I'm a freak fan of his teaching. He's such an excellent teacher. One of the best I've ever experienced in my life. He inspires, he motivates, and he teaches you how to actually implement stuff. He never lets you walk away without tools. And that's what I love about him. So any of his works, any works by Brendan Burchard, I just devour them up. I mean, I'm not lying when I say that. I have tabs on all the chapters. I study and highlight, I highlight it and study it to pieces. I dissect it and I find all the frameworks. I obsess on his stuff. But it's helped me. It's completely helped me change my life. My other book, I would say, that's been a huge impact for me, that I kind of devoured in a similar way, is this one right here, Disease to Please. God, this is such a good book. Oh my gosh, it changed my life. It totally changed my life. I'm just like, this is how I do things. I can't help it. I have to, I'm very process oriented. So this helps me process stuff, but I'm a people pleaser my whole life. And I thought that was a good thing. I thought people pleasing was a noble, humble, characteristic. And I kind of said it kind of proud, I'm always putting other people first. Like, what a cool character quality that is. But oh my gosh, it was not that. It was actually the opposite. What I found out was being a people pleaser is actually one of the biggest narcissistic egomaniac character traits that you could have. And I was like, what? I don't feel like I got all the benefit of being a narcissist. It was never about me. Like, people weren't doing stuff for me. And so I was like, something's not right here. But then after studying it, realizing that I was using other people by doing things for them, anticipating what they would want from me to make them like me more, so that I could feel accepted, so that I could feel approved by them. So I was using them to pump up my own ego. And that blew my mind. I was just like, blue is green now, red is orange, like everything changed. Like the sky is actually, purple. Like it's not really blue. Like it was like that for me. Like literally everything I thought that was true about that was the opposite. It was completely turned upside down, and it changed everything for me. So that helped me stop being in that victim mindset. So if you guys are people pleasers, I'm telling you right now, that is not a good thing. Get this book. It's a game changer. It's called Disease to Please. Kelly, you read that one too. And I know that was a big deal for you.
That was very huge. Yeah, it was a huge book. I love it.
Yeah.
Definitely dissection.
Yeah, and other personal development things that have been game changers for me, and I know for Kelly and Michelle as well, is going to live events, going to a live conference. I remember my very first one. It was Danny Johnson, and it was First Steps to Success, and I could not believe it. I just, again, it was that thing, like going to a personal development event that I, redefining what personal development meant to me, and going there and showing up and seeing hundreds of people in this place. It was like a rock concert. Like that blew my mind. It was as big as a rock concert, but it was personal development. There was no band. There was no like comedian. There was person talking about empowering things to change your life in a better way. And my mind was just like blown. And I've been a live event addict since then. I don't even know. I've been to probably 25 since then. And plus gotten certifications and all different kinds of things. And I love them. I will never stop going to live events because of the people that you're around, because of the teaching that you get to have, and just like new concepts. Even going to High Performance Academy, this will be my 11th one that I've gone to. And while a lot of the same concepts are taught, I always learn something new, always, because things come up, right? And you're in a different place. Like personal development is like a spiral. And as you're going through life, or life is like a spiral. And every time you encounter something or engage with a learning, even if it was the same one, you're in a different place. So it applies in a different way. So it's so important to keep growing, like Michelle and Kelly said earlier. Kelly, was High Performance your first personal development event live? Michelle, how about you?
Yeah, that was mine. First one.
That was my 6th one. After I went to Danny Johnson, I did 5 altogether before I discovered anybody else. This is a fanatic about that. I went to 3 of her basic ones and 2 of her advanced level ones. And then I got an invitation to go to HPA. Some guy named Brendan Burchard that I'd heard of, but not really done any research on. Upside down again, everything upside down. So you guys, we encourage you guys to do that. If you have questions and you want like any recommendations, put it in the comments. We'd love to share that with you guys. We have tons of experience in this area of personal development. And by the way, health, improving your health, that absolutely is a form of personal development. Developing yourself personally to be better, to be healthier. And for us, we know, for me, there's no way that I could have taken away what I did when I went to those personal development events. They wouldn't have been as maximized as they have been for me and created all the success that I have right now in my life, had I not first taken control of my health. Because until I did that, I didn't believe I deserved any of that other stuff. I didn't believe I could do anything with any of that other stuff. I had no self-belief. After losing weight and getting healthy, I was like, man, what else could I do? My ambition just went through the roof. So this was the perfect follow-up to keep nurturing my new self-belief that I was developing. So if you guys love these conversations, join us in HEROMOM Nation. We have so much cool stuff going on right now. You guys got to get in there to see what's going on with our challenge and documentary with the ladies who are in it, who are just crushing it right now, just really digging in deep and pulling out all the nuggets that we have in there, where we're teaching about health and weight loss in a safe and sustainable way that's holistic and it's fast. And then we have our personal development side, where we're bringing in the mindset to help you guys back up what you're doing here, that the two are backing each other up, so that accelerates your pace. And it's not just one at a time. And then after you get here, then you start adding this one. No, like, we're bringing it all to you. So you're just going straight to the top. All right, you guys, anything? Kelly, Michelle?
Nope.
Make it a great day.
Yeah. Happy
All right, you guys,
Tuesday.
happy Tuesday. See you tomorrow.
Bye.